Hey, what's up guys? This is Mirror Image, and I'm gonna start, or at least try to start, a series of videos, releasing one, of course, after each patch, and I'm gonna just talk about the patch notes. 12.14 is the latest one, so that's the one I'll be talking about first. I was very surprised. Previously, I'd started to make a video about the state of balance in the game as being really bad. It still is not. It's still not good. They're working on it, but this is coming, of course, from the perspective of a Mesmer. So we were getting nerfed hard, week after week. It just like was an endless wave of just getting our class destroyed. First we saw, the nerfs to minor things like the recharge times on phantasms. Pretty much all the phantasms. The cooldowns were now longer. Like for the Eye Warlock was one of the biggest complaints. I know the Duelist was one of them, the Swordsman, pretty much all of them, but those were like the three main ones. And then, if not to make matters worse, Portal was nerfed, as well as our LOS and our one of the most used phantasms, the Eye Berserker, the Illusionary Berserker, for its range capabilities. But this last patch, the 12.14 patch, obviously from 2012, it was surprisingly very good for the Mesmer class. They buffed a little bit of the underwater stuff, which wasn't all that important to me. Mantras got a decent buff. Decreased all mantra cast times by 1 second. So if you're running healing mantras or trying to do a damage type of build, either way they work great. Particularly for the healing though. And the thing, of course, they fixed most. I haven't had any LOS issues myself. I know some people in the forums are still complaining a little bit, but I have had zero problems with my phantasms connecting. It seems like they fixed whatever problems that they introduced in the last patch with pretty much all of the phantasms. I've tested the focus ones, the staff ones, the sword ones, and the great sword ones. I have not touched the scepter or the torch, mostly because obviously the scepter is one of the weaker weapons that the Mesmer has right now in terms of PvE. It's a bit slow. If you're trying to do the shatter builds, it's not necessarily very fast at creating clones. And then I've never been huge into the scepter, except for occasionally using it for World v World when I need to cloak. So I haven't tested those out, but as far as I know, the other ones are working almost optimally. Anyways, so there's ArenaNet talked a little bit ago about nerfing burst damage across the board, and what we've seen is actually they've given players more incentive to use the burst damage builds. One of the nerfs in the last patch notes was I believe it's membrane, something membrane. The name evades me right now. I think it was called Illusionary Membrane. But basically, it was a minor trait in the Chaos line, and basically, whenever you received regeneration, you would also get protection. But they unfortunately nerfed the amount of times, or the duration that you can have it. Basically, you can only proc every 15 seconds at a maximum. So I had come up with a bunker build. That was my last video, I believe, was my bunker build, which I had started getting really used to. I liked it a lot because I could play a bunker as a light armor class and do very well at it. Of course, that was nerfed, because I wanted to make something that didn't rely on phantasms and wasn't a shatter build. But unfortunately, that was nerfed. It's still possible to run that build, not as effectively. I used to be able to have up to 30 seconds of protection at in the middle of a fight. Now it's not even 100% up all the time. Meanwhile, shatter builds got another buff, so I, like pretty much the rest of the world, in the Mesmer world at least, has switched back to shatter builds, or have continued using shatter builds. I'm glad that they gave the Mesmer this. Basically, the thing I'm talking about is shattered strength. Instead of 1 stack of might when you shatter, you get 3 per each clone or illusion, phantasm, whatever that gets shattered. So if you have 3 clones or 3 phantasms or the combination of the two, you get 9 stacks of might. If you're shattering, if you do that twice very quickly, that's 18 stacks of might. You can easily get up to the maximum number of stacks of might. And basically it makes your burst damage even higher with confusion, with mind rack. So even though they said they were going to nerf burst damage across the board previously, which is in reference mostly to the warrior with 100 blades, the thief with backstab, and the mesmer with its shatters, they've actually seem to be giving players more incentive to use those types of builds. With the might now, mesmer's burst damage is even more devastating. I know Thief's I think they got a speed buff, so they're even faster than they were before, which doesn't seem like a buff to burst damage, but when you consider that backstab is one of the skills that probably the most used burst damage skill out of the thieves, or most commonly used, and it has to be land while they're invisible and they have to get behind you. The extra speed makes it easier to connect these massive hits. So they've made it so players are more likely to start using these burst builds, and pretty much everyone is using them. I didn't want to use a shatter build because it was so common, but I do a lot of PvE, and it's quite frankly the best way to deal damage. And when they nerfed the bunker build, it's still useful, but it's not as useful as it could be in other classes. Like the Guardian can tank just as well. So overall, I am pleased. I think giving the Mesmer the ability to create more might is a good thing, I believe, because they're supposed to be sort of that class that's good at debuffing and buffing, and having those large stacks of might and then being able to distribute them to your teammates, it just goes along with the theme very well. So I am happy that they did that. However, I wish that they would buff some of the other things that aren't played as much because they're considered weaker. Like what the heck is the scepter for now? It was supposed to be for shatters. Originally it was thought to be for condition damage because the auto attack skill applied confusion. So it's just like the scepter really needs to be loved. Something besides burst damage. Burst damage is great where it's at right now. I think they just need to leave that. Don't nerf it, don't buff it, just focus on some of the other things. Maybe help the bunker build back, or because that wasn't even very popular, especially in PvE. Not many people played a bunker mesmer. At any rate, very, very happy with the patches. This patch, not with the previous ones. I'm hoping they continue to go in this direction and that they buff other classes, particularly the Ranger and the Necromancers. They're two of the weaker ones right now. So I'm hoping that they buff those. But yeah, I'm very happy with this patch, and I'm hoping that they continue in this direction of sort of they've had a lot of patches where people dreaded the patches. Now it's something I can possibly look forward to. So anyways, mostly positive for this patch, and I'll probably be making more videos about the patch notes. So yeah, glad you listened. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. I would love to hear some feedback on how you feel about the 12.14 update. Thank you.